Now, police in Kenya have opened fire during fresh clashes with protesters in the capital, Nairobi. Police also used whips on the protesters. Demonstrations were there and due to be held across the country to mark the anniversary of pro-democracy protests back in 1990. Tear gas and water cannon have also been used today, and roadblocks are being used in an effort to seal off Nairobi's city centre. They've accused the government of trying to stop the protests from actually taking place. Well, let's speak to Ian Wafula, who's on the outskirts of Nairobi. And Ian, just describe what you've witnessed over the last few hours.
Now, actually, what you see right behind me is one of the major highways that's leading from three other cities in Kenya. That's Kisumu, Eldoret, and Nakuru. So, on a regular day, this road would have been absolutely busy. But what we're seeing right now is that on this actual side, there's a group of protesters who are engaging with the police, and this has been the situation all day because they have been trying to make their way into the central business district of Nairobi just to protest. But this time around, police have managed to keep the protesters out of the CBD because they said, and what we've seen in the past is that protests have actually gotten violent, and to a point we've seen them being infiltrated by goons and property being destroyed. Today, many young people say that it is actually business unusual as they mark Sabasaba, and their push, unlike 35 years ago, is they're pushing for against police brutality, better accountability, as well as good governance, Matthew.
And in terms of the authorities, because this has been going on for a number of days, what are people expecting in the coming days?
Well, what young people are saying is that they need the government to sit down with them and engage them on conversations that are concerning the issue that these young people are raising. But unlike Sabasaba, that is the 7th of July, 35 years ago, those protests back then were led by key opponents to the then President Daniel Arap Moi, whereas this time round we have a different kind of generation and different kind of protests where they have been organic protests online, and the protests have been leaderless, so to say. So it has been a bit difficult on government's end to actually engage the protesters because the protests essentially have no face, and that has been the difficult bit. Today, when I spoke to a number of drivers who usually ply this route, taking passengers all the way to the rest of Kenya, they say that the government just needs to sit down and talk to young people and listen to them. But then young people on their end feel as though the government is withdrawing, rather is ignoring them, and they're not being heard, Matthew.
Just briefly on this, we're looking at the pictures. You're there in the capital, but what is happening elsewhere in the country when it comes to protests?
Well, protests across the country similar to what we have seen. However, I must say the protests have not been as intense as what we've seen over the last couple of months, just because of the manner in which security or the police have managed to contain it. But this is actually just the scenes that we're seeing similarly across the country, just young people out on the streets expressing their frustration. However, a majority of people actually did remain at home, and this is what the young protesters are saying, that the impact has been felt. Even though they did not come out to the streets, it has been business unusual, Matthew.
Ian Wafula there on the ground. Thanks very much for bringing us all the latest. Thank you.